Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Unmasking Autism with AFO. I am your host, Carly Marissa Dummett. This podcast is presented by the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma and funded by the Oklahoma State Department of Health. For those who don't know, the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma strives to improve the lives of Oklahomans with autism across the lifespan. And before we jump in, I would just like to say that this podcast will discuss autism, suicide, mental health and wellness, among other topics, with autistic individuals and different professionals, with the goal of unmasking stereotypes, increasing awareness, advocating for mental health and wellness, and attempting to shatter the stigmas of these topics through conversation and personal experience. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Unmasking Autism with AFO. I'm your host, Carly Marissa Dummett, and I am here with two very awesome guests today. We are going to talk about mental health and wellness and physical wellness. And my guests today are Lindsay Juarez and Carrie Baldwin. So thank you. We'll start with you, Lindsay. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm Lindsay. I own Mindful Massage and Bodywork. So I've been a massage therapist for 11 years, been a yoga teacher for 3 or 4. I have a son, he's 9, and he's autistic, and he's amazing. And then through his diagnosis, discovered, yep, I'm definitely also autistic. And learning those things about him and about myself and how autism just shows up, and love how yoga can be used to help nervous system regulate, basically. A lot of autistic symptoms or things that people find are issues in their life as a lot of nervous system dysregulation, and yoga is a beautiful way to regulate your nervous system.
Awesome. Great. Carrie?
Hi, my name is Carrie Baldwin. I'm a retired firefighter, and I do have triplets who are all 3 on the spectrum. They are 16 as of now. So I have one daughter who might be capable of driving. We did find a driving school that does teach autistics. Mm-hmm. They test them, they drive them until they can pass. We're going to attempt that and see how that goes. I just have a program I came up with, Fit for Focus, which I'm hoping helps a lot of children in my community at my gym.
Which is,
It's Temple Fitness.
Temple Fitness,
yes.
Where's that at?
It is Yukon, West Yukon, which is Mustang Road and Reno, out west.
Awesome.
So yes, and those classes will start, we're hoping to start November 1st.
Okay.
I have the studio ready to go.
Okay, great. Send me that info and I'll make sure I put it
I will.
on the description.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So before we jump into the questions, do you guys, so you just said, through your son's diagnosis, mm-hmm. you were diagnosed as well. I've heard that happen with a lot of people. Do you want to maybe, touch a little bit more on that experience for you?
Oh, sure. It was wild. So he's my only child. And so parenting him as a baby, it was, everything to me was normal because I'd never had a baby. I don't know what they're supposed to act like. I was like, this is great. And then a lot of the things I was seeing, I was like, oh, he's getting so much of his personality from me is legitimate what I thought, until we started him in pre-K. And that's when, actual structure came into it, that we started noticing he was just having a lot more difficulty with little things like transition and communication, asking for his needs and stuff like that. We knew he was speech delayed, we knew he was gross motor delayed, and so the red flags started coming in school. So we took him, did the whole process, waited 6 months, did the 2 appointments, paid a stupid amount of money, and got the diagnosis. And it was just a whole new book was just opened up on how to understand my kid. And, of course, as any good autistic does, go into the research and just research the crap out of it. Saw so much of myself in it, started listening to, seminars and autistic adults and what they said. Helped me so much in learning how to parent him and how to figure out what his needs were that weren't getting met, to help make, calm his nervous system so that he could be regulated and have be successful in life. And Yeah, and then just learning that about me has helped me advocate for myself, make accommodations for myself in my own life. Like, I don't do phone calls anymore, just blanket statement. I just don't. I don't force myself to go to the grocery store if I'm not regulated, like noticing when I'm starting to approach burnout, taking action before it happens. And like, it's all just brought so much good to my life. And like meeting other people who are autistic and going like, oh, you do the thing too. Oh, like, I love the community that it like brings together. And it's all been positives. Learning more about autism, how it works, how it can be adapted into neurotypical life.
Exactly. Well, thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. And then one baby, I think, well, I'm childless, so one baby for me sounds like a lot, but 3, and then on top of that, they all have autism.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
I don't recommend it. However, it is an adventure and it's ongoing. So yes, we did have 3. I have identical twin girls and 1 boy. And then we have Triton, Trinity, and Ariel. They're not named after the Little Mermaid. That wasn't the intent, but anyway. But we figured out Triton was our first one. It recognized we had signs that they were gross motor skills were fine. Physically, they were hit all their marks. It was more, he wasn't talking. His sisters were talking and doing fairly well. So they went to preschool. So they were probably 5 when they were diagnosed. Triton was diagnosed at 3.
Okay.
And he's still nonverbal, basically. But he does have a device by Toby Vine, I think, that we got through the school system, which our insurance paid a tremendous amount for that, and the school picked up the balance.
Oh, that's really nice.
So I recommend if you have an IEP that you check into that. If your child is nonverbal, check with your school, your IEP, and they can get you hooked up. And if you have insurance, that's even better.
Okay,
So-
great. Good to know.
They got an AAC device for my kid, and he's
Yes.
verbal, but he's not like.
But it helps.
But yeah, it helps.
And
So,
so
like-
Triton can speak because
Yeah.
he has the same issues. Triton's issues were not telling me what his needs were and when he was in pain or how much pain, because their pain threshold is very high. So he can take a lot. Actually, all 3 can, I believe. It's hard to tell. They have a hard time still telling me feelings and how they feel, how their bodies are, which is still a little difficult. But excuse me, the girls are pretty verbal and they're pretty good. So they do go to gen ed classes with some of their peers. Triton can handle some of that, but sometimes it's overstimulation. The good thing about them now is that they can recognize when to decompress. So they can go and decompress. So it's just, I allow that, which is where he stims a lot. Triton does have a lot of vocal tendencies when he's nervous, and he also has physical tendencies. So when he gets stressed out, he rubs his head on hard objects. He doesn't hit his head, but he rubs his head. So that's, I have to kind of tell when he needs to decompress, and he does. They do pretty good that way.
Okay.
But I was in kids CrossFit, started coaching kids CrossFit, and so they had to come with me to do it. So I recognized they were much calmer when we got home. They were more focused, and he wasn't stimming hardly after activity.
Okay.
So the more we did that, the more I noticed things just started to unfold, and I had this idea for an obstacle course for autistics to help them be aware of their body, have physical contact, and be in a social setting at a limited. I'm only going to allow 10 children to keep the socializing limited and quiet because it is sound sensitive room. It has pads on it. There's not echoing. There's no music. It's just going to be very sound sensitive. But the plan is to help them regulate how their life's going to change. So the course will change. A piece of the course will change every 2 weeks. So when they come back, they're touching everything, yet one piece will be different. But they're touching it and they're going over it. So it's not so overwhelming.
Okay.
It's not so overstimulating because they're already doing something. So I'm changing the course from the end first. So they start at the beginning always the same. But as we start changing the course every 2 weeks, they will be in a whole new course at the end of 10 weeks. And the whole thing would have been changed and they will be none the wiser. But they would have touched and changed everything and adapted to it.
Okay. Very cool.
So it's a slow process that seems to work for mine, and this is what I'm going by because we do CrossFit, and it's the same thing. It's a 45-minute class of doing a different variety of physical activity, but the difference at home is what I'm hoping parents recognize in school. So I'm hoping it helps with focus at school and helping them to decompress and show them that when they are physical, they can decompress and lower their anxiety, lower their stress.
Okay.
And deal with it, and deal with change, and deal with other social activities. Because I do have an occupational health therapist who will help me at my gym, and I have a high-functioning autistic adult. She is also going to be my assistant because she is autistic, and she can help me deal with these autistic children.
That's great.
And it should be, I'm hoping, a great plan.
Yeah, it sounds great. Definitely get me that info so we can help pump that out.
I will.
And then before we jump into the questions, I also want to tell the audience, Miss Lindsay is also going to be a expert. I'm forgetting what the word is, at AFO's first wellness retreat that we're doing on Saturday, November 4th at Workflow OKC. It is almost sold out, but I'm putting the link in the description of this video so you can grab one of the last 15 tickets. So wanted to plug that for you.
Yeah.
Come learn from her.
Come do some yoga.
Yes,
Yay.
seriously. I used to be obsessed with yoga when I lived in Texas. And then I don't know why I stopped. I need to work out. I know that about myself. So question 1, the Global Wellness Institute defines wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to holistic health. One dimension of total wellness is physical health, meaning nourishing a healthy body through the big 3, exercise, nutrition, and sleep. This not only helps with a healthy body, but correlates with good mental health as well. So you already talked a little bit about it, but can you talk more about how each of your practices really contribute to a healthy mind and body?
Yeah, I'll go first. So yoga. So yoga, obviously nutrition's out of my scope, but mind and body. Yoga is a beautiful way to combine both of those things and to get your mind and body in balance is really what yoga is about. And like the point of yoga, everyone thinks yoga is about stretching or about like a workout, because that's how we've made it here in the West. Is like we've made yoga a fitness class. But the true heart of yoga is about bringing balance to your life through movement and discipline of your body, of your breath, of your mind. So going into a yoga class and getting into these positions and stretching parts of your body that you weren't aware of. So we know that a lot of autistic and neurodiverse people have low proprioception, have bump into things and drop things, and have low body awareness. Like that's why we don't know that we're thirsty or we're hungry or we have like temperature regulation issues. So yoga is the practice of getting on your mat and just noticing those things a little better. And we know through neuroplasticity, we can actually grow those neurons to be able to learn how to feel the body again. Okay. So practicing feeling, where are my toes? Eventually that'll become second nature. And so yoga is the practice of doing that. It also helps you calm your mind. So if you get into a yoga practice, things start coming up when you're on the mat, right? Like you get into a pose and you're like, I'm a failure. This is terrible. This is never going to work. I'm never going to be as good as those people on Instagram, right? But the practice of yoga is to get on your mat. It's just you and these, 4 corners of your mat. It's you, your body, and your breath, and meeting yourself where you are right then in that moment. What can I do in this moment? How is my body showing up for me in this moment? Instead of the anxiety that comes into it of like future, right? Like, I'm never going to get this, or it's never going to happen. Like, well, what is here for you right now? And that can really help decrease stress, which decreases your cortisol levels. It makes you feel good. We know all the benefits that you get from exercise, like the endorphins and stuff, are still there. And you're getting to practice regulating your breath, which we know helps so much of your nervous system. So really, I think of yoga as like the sandbox for life. Like come into yoga, get on your mat, and learn lessons that then you can take with you into life. So that when you're in a traffic jam, and you're like, I'm never going to get out of this traffic jam, you can go, no, I'm just right here. I'm right here. I'm here with my body and my breath, and it's going to be okay. Or for me, my kid will not stop screaming because he needs to regulate. But I can breathe and I can be okay. And I can know that in this moment, everything's okay and safe. And so it's a practice, but when you go into a yoga practice with that intention instead of, oh, I really need to stretch out my hamstrings, you're going to get so much more out of it. You can go in and say, I'm going to stretch my hamstrings, and yeah, you'll get looser hamstrings. That's great. But there's so much more for you there.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
So that might be good for mothers to do as well. I mean, if
gosh,
autistics, I might need to look into yoga. Okay.
Yeah, regulation.
Yeah. Well, my daughter, I have one, she enjoys yoga, and we don't have it anymore at the gym, but we may see you November.
Even the physical aspect. So we know a lot of neurodiverse people have low proprioception, which lives in your joints, which means where most of us are hypermobile, which we don't know the end range of our joints. So then if you go into a yoga class thinking you're going to stretch, you have the higher likelihood of hurting yourself, especially as an autistic, as a hypermobile person. So yoga in an engaged way can actually strengthen the tendons around your joints and make your coordination better, help with your proprioception, help you not overstretch and get injured. So like Ehlers-Danlos and stuff is really common in the autistic world.
Okay, yeah.
And doing engaged yoga can actually be really beneficial. So the yoga that I'm going to teach, you'll notice it's going to be different than maybe any other yoga that you've had. We're not going to go fast. We're not going to, go through 50 million poses. We're going to kind of stay in certain poses and see what's there for us, and see how we can engage. It takes time to learn to engage muscles that you've never talked to before. So yeah, I think it'll be real eye-opening for people to see like, oh, there's like a whole nother side of yoga that can be accessed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay, great.
I'm excited too. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah.
No, you should. You totally
Me and Ariel may show up for yoga.
And bring your children too.
Yes,
It's just 30 minutes. Come on.
And Triton is hypermobile. He's my only hypermobile. He's extremely hypermobile,
Yeah.
bendy, and he's 6'5". He looks like a giant spider.
He's probably has really tight hamstrings.
He does. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, you should come and you should bring them. So yes, your turn.
Okay. So I think where obstacle course comes in is like she said, it does like help them be more body aware. They have to grip, they climb, they jump. So they're going to be aware of distances, because I know quite a few autistics don't recognize personal space of many people. So that's one we're trying to teach our children. But I think the obstacle course just helps the same thing. It's like focusing. They have to focus on every move. They have to know what their hands, their fingers are doing. They have to recognize where they have to go from one to the other. It is heights, and it's climbing. So it's how to climb a ladder, how to climb down the ladder. So there is a lot of focus involved. So I'm hoping, and like she said, just any activity is going to bring down cortisol and anxiety issues. But the thing for them is I want them thinking what their next move is. So they're thinking ahead and knowing what body part they need to use, how they need to use it. So it should make them focus a little bit more and have to think a little bit more in the moment, each moment, because it's going to change each moment they move is different. They're going to have to recognize that, and then we just repeat and repeat. So it is a routine, but then in 2 weeks we're going to change one part, so it's going to be, what's that? Okay, all right, and then they keep, and it just goes on.
Yeah.
So I think the mental clarity and the focus,
Just clip it back. You're good.
it's going to be key, and that's what I hope they recognize when they get home. That's what I recognize. That's what I recognize at school, is their focus, and the teachers recognize it, which is even more, which is why I decided I would like it to be a field trip also for schools who have special needs classes, because the classes are limited usually, so I can do 5 to 10, and it will be a nice group, and they'll be together, and they'll be socializing. So it just helps them in the noise. So the noise will be sensitized, but the other children will be making noise. I think it will just help them start recognizing noises that they can handle a lot of things, especially if they're distracted and they're doing something physical. The noise shouldn't and doesn't usually bother them at all. Other kids or other things, I haven't seen that issue yet.
Okay.
And I'm sure some children probably will have an issue, but if we just keep them going and show that they can do it and they keep going, it will lessen. And we do have a decompression corner. I have a decompression corner for those who get overstimulated. They can go sit down, rest for a little bit, and if they want to come back, then they can.
Okay.
So that way they can wear their earplugs, they can bring their iPads, whatever they need to do to go decompress and then come back. Or if they can't, they can't. We'll just keep trying and keep going. So hopefully that's what my plan is.
I think it sounds great. So obviously. You guys both, live what you teach as well. So can you share how implementing healthy lifestyle choices has personally impacted you and your family, both physically and mentally?
Okay.
Whoever wants to.
For me and my family, the biggest wellness thing that we've implemented is really emotional regulation and intelligence. We like to stay, to be active as much as we can, but we also, over the years, have recognized that downtime is really important for us as a family too. So that's a big thing that we did with my son, is we made the choice to not do any extracurriculars with him. He's 9 right now, and he hasn't shown interest in anything, so it's not like we've said no, but we just haven't pursued anything like maybe other families have, because we recognized how much downtime he needs after school to regulate himself. He's really a big homebody like me, so, staying home and being in a safe place is really comforting for him. But then, we've got a backyard. He runs around with the dogs and stuff like that. Breathing in the middle of meltdowns and being able to just hold space for him. It's a lot of that kind of health and wellness stuff in my family that we've implemented. Therapy. Everyone goes to therapy in my house. We're all on medication. It's great. I think I answered it. What was the...
Implementing healthy lifestyle choices has personally impacted you and your family.
And I think for me too, something that I recognized, and I realized recently, my favorite exercise is weightlifting. I love lifting heavy weights.
I do too.
I know. So I'm looking at you. I love lifting heavy weights, and I learned that a couple years ago. Well, then I recently learned that is a vestibular sensory need. That, like, if you have low vestibular sensory something, like I'm hyposensitive vestibularly, so like my body seeks that input. Okay. So, and the thing I was reading, it said like, oh, have the kids move heavy objects. And I was like, okay. It's like, that's why I love weightlifting so much, because it always makes me feel really grounded and nice, and like, and I was like, oh, because it's filling like a sensory need for me. I didn't even realize that. And I think for yoga, it does that too, because when we get into these poses, and like, yes, we will stretch muscles, but we're going to do it in an engaged way that's safe for hypermobile joints. But when you finally can feel that stretch in your muscle, it's like it scratches that itch that you've just been really needing to get scratched in your body. And it's like that sensory need just gets like fed right there. So really just, I think what we've done in my family is recognize where the sensory needs are and find ways to fill them. So like my kid has STEM toys, he's got his headphones, he's got stuff he can jump off of, he's got like one of those swings in his bedroom. Mm-hmm. So we, sensory diet, we try to have like a ton of stuff to just regulate the nervous system, and like, well, what are you feeling? And like, let's dance it out, or let's stomp our feet if we're angry, or like really trying to work those feelings through the body instead of just getting stuck in your head. Yeah. So
I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, we've been pretty active. Well, I've been pretty active my whole life, so they kind of grew up that way. But we go. I'm a big outdoorsy, so we go hiking. We've always gone hiking, and they love swimming, so they've always swam. And I found that is probably their most relaxing, because you're underwater, there's no sound, there's no sensory, you're on your own, and it's quiet. And all three, and so they all love swimming. So we caught that very early on. So yes, they went to infant swim and swimming all the time, and they go into the ocean, they surf, they parasail. Okay, they do not, my son does. Okay. The girls refuse to go, but my son loves parasailing. But like I said, he is hypermobile, so what I had to figure out was they don't tighten up when they lift. Okay, so kids CrossFit, or CrossFit itself, we use equipment, but it's more like velocity, there's more swinging, but it is weightlifting, but it's more body motion. So that's what I figured. So we do ball slams, and we have kettlebells that they swing, so everything is weight resistant, And a slam ball is a big ball that just bounces, so it just stays on the floor. It's full of sand, so it's heavy. So it's 10, 15 pounds, and they had to pick it up and slam it. And that's probably the most fun they like.
Okay.
And jumping is a big thing. Jumping on boxes, jumping on bouncy things, they will stay on there forever. But you can just watch the calm and the anxiety drop and the smiles start coming out. So they just repeat and repeat. So that's what I noticed on my children. They were happier, we got home, they were calm. And Triton would tighten up for the obstacle course because you have to tighten your muscles and you're lifting things. So you can just see it just relaxes them the more they do. And so that's what I've discovered with them. So Kids CrossFit is how I figured out how they were reacting. So the obstacle course, I just added those weight lift parts in there, and it's just smooth move. And they say they get weight resistance, they get to jump, they get to climb, and they're gonna have all these different, where they have to flex and squeeze muscles and stretch them and hold them and hold these objects out and pull them in. So it's things their body's gonna have to do. I think it will help a lot of that, especially when they're mobile sensitive, because my son has got to tighten up. Now they are in martial arts now because they can handle it. And even Triton can handle it. And he's like the most sensitive of mine because he does STEM and he does have his moments still. But martial arts also teaching him how to stretch and do those movements without hurting himself, not being too hyper and not being too hyperextended, because he is very too stretchy. He's too stretchy, but he's learning that, so I think that's going to be healthy. And of course mine, I mean, it just instills their confidence. It's going to instill so much more confidence in who they are, because they don't really know yet. And the world is complicated for them. Sounds, everything. And when they see people doing things, my daughter tried rugby, but she was amazing at it. But she's the only one who's really can handle contact. But she wanted to try rugby, which she did great. She's a super empath, so she tackled, but she also started helping everybody up. And you can't really do that in a game. So yeah, we've decided so. Okay, rugby might be a little dangerous for that. So, but they're good at martial arts. They like it. They can handle it. We can only go one day a week because it is a little stimulating, and they can't handle twice a week yet. So we're getting there. And I feel the obstacle course will also be the same way for many children. It may be very stimulating, and once a week may be all they need, and then you can decide, because we have 1 class a week, 2 classes a week, but probably once a week will be enough to start. And then you can have to go by your child and how they're developing and how they're handling it and how they have to decompress afterward. But they shouldn't have to decompress really very much after what I've seen.
Great. And I know, because we were talking before we started filming, you mentioned a little bit about how you have your kids on a gluten-free diet, and then also the leaky gut. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because, data does show the correlation between autism and GI issues.
Yes. So. I think every child is different in that area too, so you're going to have to, this is trial and error is all I can say, trial and error. So my children are not, we had them tested, they're not gluten intolerant. However, gluten does cause inflammation in many areas of your body, everyone. So we're gluten-free anyway. We also do grass-fed beef. So they don't do grain foods, they don't get colors or dyes. I try to avoid that. Any processed foods we don't eat out very often. If we do, it's very seldom, but I try to watch and how it contributes to them. But we can eat pretty healthy out, and they're pretty good at that. I think my kids are a little bit ahead of the system, because sensory eating certain foods is also an issue for many autistics. The touch of it, the feel of it, and they smell their food. My son smells everything before it goes in his mouth. But since they grew up, we made their baby food. So they've had all these different types of sensory since they were babies. So I think mine handle, because their food schedule is amazing. I mean, I have one daughter now, she can only have crunch. Everything has to have a crunch. So all her vegetables are raw. She likes all raw vegetables. They have to have a crunch. Everything has to crunch. My son can eat almost anything, seafood, oysters, scallop, whatever. He's great at that. But I think that comes from nutrition from the very get-go. But like I said, they weren't diagnosed till 3 or 5, so we didn't have any idea till later. So then learning more about that was harder. Now my kids are on a leaky gut tablet because I know they have leaky gut. I have a daughter, like I said, you get those dark circles, and that was one way my doctor told me to pick up on your good bacteria and your bad bacteria in your gut, if it's less or lower, and you lower more. So that's what I have to go by her. My others don't have that. So her gut regimen is different. than theirs. So she's on a leaky gut and also a cleanse tablet.
Okay.
I also use, they're on a CBD based,
Okay.
which is all natural. There's no dyes in it. It's all natural ingredients. And my son and my daughter are on one called Rest because of their anxiety.
Okay.
My other daughter is on one called Focus because she's ADHD autistic. And those seem to be great. And we've been on those for 2 or 3 years. And that's through a company out of Oklahoma called TrueMedics.
Okay.
And they test your children. They scan them and they try to find you the best supplement that would be best for them, and it's all natural. It comes in tablets or a tincture, a liquid. So my son does liquid because he spits the tablets out. So I had to trick him, and we're into the liquids now, so he don't know what he's drinking with his chocolate milk.
Oh, okay.
So I did in that.
Okay, great.
But I think you have to keep an eye on that, yes. And it's just going to be trial and error. And what I found was the leaky gut I have now seems to work great for my one daughter who I can tell. So I just put the other 2 on that because they don't have that issue. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it works for one, and they're triplets, they're related, so I'm hoping
Yeah.
it helps all 3 that way. So far, it seems to be doing great.
Okay, great. No, I love that. We're going to just talk about the pandemic for our last question. How did the pandemic affect you and your family, and what are some things that you learned from it?
Sure. So I think
Yeah.
So I think everyone, at least everyone I talked to kind of had like a life transformative experience through the pandemic, right? Whatever you learned, I learned that I was burnt out like crazy from my job. Once we shut down and everyone went home, I was like, this is actually really nice, guys. Like I don't like people dying, but like being home is really, really nice. So what I learned was what I had previously, this is speaking for myself, what I had previously been calling my depressive episodes were actually autistic burnouts. And so that woke me up to like, that has different needs, right? Like depression versus like if it's a burnout, like there's different things that you need to do to help yourself through those. And so that like radically changed everything for me and gave me the new goal in my life to really, really monitor my time expenditure so that I am not overcommitting myself to things. Mm-hmm. So like high functioning, high achieving autistics, right? We're gonna say yes to everything. We're people pleasers because that's the only way we know how to mask. So we're gonna say yes to everything, overcommit to everything, go, 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 go. I can sleep when I'm dead kind of mentality. That just after being in the pandemic, being shut down for like, I feel like I was home for 3 months. It was beautiful. Gosh, I was just so much more myself. I was so much more grounded when I had that rest, when I wasn't having to actively mask around people every day for 8 to 10 hours a day. When I gave myself plenty of time to stem, to, curl up in a blanket in bed and just like not be for a minute, right? Or like to listen to music and just to zone out, and that was like probably like 2 years after I finally accepted, like, yeah, I'm autistic. So then just like, I don't know, okay, I'm just gonna go be autistic in my room. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that's like because nobody told me when I was a kid. But just getting to explore that side and like really nervous system regulate. So after we came back, I actively made a plan and ended up quitting my job about like, it was April that next year that I quit my job. I changed to running my business full time. I only work 4 days a week. Like I said, I don't take phone calls. Like I just made drastic changes in making my life serve me instead of serving whatever everyone else wanted me to do. Yeah. And I know that trickled down to like how I was able to show up for my son, because now I'm able to show up for him in a more regulated state. So when I'm regulated, he can look at me and go, oh, I don't feel regulated right now, but my mom is. And like, I can look at her and like kind of take cues from her. What is she doing? She's breathing, she's sitting down, she has a calm face, like she's a calm tone of voice. So he was able to learn from that. I'm able to spend more quality time with him. He's like always has such better attitude whenever he gets like one-on-one quality time with us as a family. And then just, realizing and seeing like, oh my gosh, that actually worked and helped me so much. Like, let's just keep going. Like, what else can I learn? What else can I accommodate? What else can I, what other practices can I implement into my life? So for me, it was really just a big like breaking open point of like, hey, look at all of this time that you're getting back. Isn't this nice? You should, like, this should be a goal in your life, is to feel like this.
Yeah.
And so I made it my goal, is to feel rested, calm, grounded. And when I don't, okay, something's off track again. I need to like look and see, oh, I'm doing too much again. Like, let's bring it back in. Or like, whoops, we need to get paper plates because dishes are not possible right now. Some little things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been great to like look at that time and take, I don't know, be able to identify specific tools that even now I can implement into my life to like make it better.
No,
So.
I think that's great. A positive out of a negative.
Yeah, that's kind of like the whole jam.
I know, right? Yeah.
I'm like an annoying optimistic.
No, I think that's the only way to be.
My husband's
pretty
a
good.
realist and I'm the optimist, and so he always has to kind of bring me down a little bit. And I'm always like, no, but like come up with me. So we balance each other out. It's good.
Yin and yang.
That's
great.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
And what about you? What did you and your family learn from the pandemic?
Hey, my experience was a whole lot different than that.
Always good.
Oh yeah. So, but like I said, we've always been outside. So
Yeah.
my kids are active. So I have one daughter who is in music and art. So she plays piano, she plays the guitar, she plays the recorder.
Oh, cool.
I have one daughter who's the ice hockey, rugby playing, tackle, but I'll pick you up type girl. And then Triton, who's my nonverbal. So when COVID hit, they're very routine. So school is very routine for them. And at this age, they're 16 now. So what was it? They're probably 13, 12, 13. So when COVID hit, that disrupted their entire routine at their age. So not to go to school and not to see your friends and all of that was a demise for my autistics, especially one. We also hit puberty this time, all three. Yay, me! So anyway, so we're dealing with this. We're all home together, and of course nobody wants you going outside. Well, that's not me. So we went hiking. We went outside a lot. So that was how I got their routine. Of course, we're homeschooling as well, so we're trying to get that done. But we went out like to the nature walk. We just stayed outside a lot, the majority of the time, and made trips. So I drove in. My daughter has a fixation on the dolphin who had the artificial tail, Winter.
Oh,
the movie.
I'm from Clearwater.
Well, we went to Clearwater.
Okay. Yes.
So this was something my daughter had always mentioned, like, I want to see Winter, I want to see Winter. So I thought, Florida's the most free state, you don't have to wear a mask, we're going.
Yeah.
So we packed up, we drove cross country to Clearwater, we did sightseeing all the way there, we went outside, we went to Florida, we went and saw Winter and Hope.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that we made that trip, and it was a big difference because one of my daughters did regress. Ariel probably regressed the most. I would say she probably lost 50% of her socializing through COVID from her loss of routine because we couldn't go to piano, couldn't go to art, couldn't go to ballet because she dances ballet. Her sister dances hip hop. Okay. So I have a daughter in ballet and a daughter in hip hop. So all that was gone. So classes were dismissed. So their whole routine was disrupted, which disrupted them entirely. Trinity and Triton, however, came out of it a little bit more focused. And usually boys who are autistic have more of an issue with puberty because they start developing testosterone. They usually become more aggressive or and less focused. But however, Triton did not. But however, Ariel did. So she became an introvert, which is she's just now speaking where you can hear her because she didn't talk anymore. She talked in a whisper, you couldn't hear her. And that went on for about 2 years. But she's now getting that back and she's talking loud. We're in martial arts, so you got to talk loud. And he makes sure you can hear. So a lot of things we've done from that point on has brought her back. Okay. She still has a ways to go. I would say we're about 85% where we were, but we still have a ways to go. Okay. But I think it just hits children differently when they have routine disrupted like that for that long of a period. If it had not been that long, I can't say, but also puberty also had a role in it, so I don't know how much was COVID and how much was how much deterioration all of it did together I saw. So combined, it deteriorated one of mine to an extreme event.
Okay.
So
well,
that was my experience with COVID.
Yeah, well, we all, I mean, it's not like it was I don't know how to properly say this. It's not like it was like a present we were all handed.
No, and I still had to work. So I was still at work. So I worked through COVID because I'm a firefighter. So in the EMS, so there was no, you went to work.
Okay,
so
that's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So then when you had to be quarantined from your children who are autistic, that was, so I was quarantined a couple of times away from my children, which I think that probably had a lot to do with more. Which it is what it is, and now we're just fighting that battle back. But I think it's just something, you just get them back in routine, get them back in their nutrition, get them back on their schedules, and I do feel that they do get back. They can. Yeah. But we're praying about it. So yes, she's doing really great. She's doing awesome. She's trying. She really is, and she seems to be better. But I also noticed she was also going through bouts of depression, which is easy to pick up on with an autistic. But she still could decompress. All three still can decompress, which is the main thing you want to make sure they can do on their own, and they recognize that.
Well, good. And all any of us can really do at the end of the day is try.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Just try.
And you have to try whatever works for your child. I don't know. You have to find things, and like martial arts is the only thing I found that Triton actually engages in and like wants to do. It's the first thing I found, and he's 16, that he wants to do, because he don't follow direction. No, he'll shoot basketball all day, but he's not going to go get the ball.
Okay, yeah.
No, you go get the ball. I'll shoot the basket. That's it.
Yeah.
But martial arts, he at least is engaging, and he's trying to focus, which is the first thing I found for him. So I'm hopeful he makes like leaps and bounds that way.
I'm sure they will, and I'm same with your son. And really, you're right. You know, all we can do is find what works for you, autistic or not. You know, we all have our own likes and dislikes. Like you talked about laying in bed. Like just the other day, my mom was like, "God, you know, you lounge around so often. Sometimes I'm like." Rotting in bed on Sunday is really my recharge.
It's my favorite activity.
Exactly.
Don't take that from me.
I'm a huge TV movie person. I love to read. All of those can be done in a bed.
When you're like my whole life, I'm working towards being horizontal again.
I know.
I don't.
You know, for real. But you know, I really autistic or not, all we can do is try. And you know, one thing about COVID, you know, no matter what it did or how you feel about it, is we all went through it together. Literally everyone on this planet that's alive went through it together, and we've all come out on the other end, and we have to figure out how to be well in this post-pandemic society. And seriously, that's it. That's all I got for you guys. I really appreciate you coming out, spending your morning talking to me, telling us about your experiences and your children and what works for you all. And one more time, again, you guys, I'm going to have their information in the description of this video, so you can, if you are an Oklahoman in the OKC Metro, reach out to them to take part in their businesses and part of their wellness. And until next time, we'll see you later. Thank you so much. And thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you again for tuning in to Unmasking Autism with AFO. I'm your host, Carly Marissa Dummett. Thank you again to the Oklahoma State Department of Health. And for any information on our trainings or our events, please visit www.autismfoundationok.org or follow us on social media platforms at Autism Foundation OK. As always, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.